Wagtail has its own take on how we do content management. The main thing that distinguishes us is obviously the Django foundations. So the idea here is to have a project where, as a Django dev, if you want to build a site, you just feel right at home with the tool. And there'll be some of the features you expect from those platforms, as well as the customization options you'd expect from Django. So me specifically, I've been working on Wagtail as an open source project in the core team for about 8 years now. I joined Wagtail on the core team before I joined Torchbox. And at Torchbox itself, I'm looking at development of the admin interface for the CMS. I'm looking at marketing and sales, looking at training as well. So this session that I'm providing today is essentially the same as what we have on our own tutorial for Wagtail at our docs website, docs.wagtail.org, but condensed from a 3 to 5 hours format to 50 minutes. So it's going to be quite fast-paced, especially because we're doing deployments today. So we spent quite a bit of time. We've had a very successful Google Season of Docs project for people who might have heard of those programs, where we had a tech writer working with us for about 6 months, creating a new tutorial that takes you all the way from no knowledge of Django to I have a personal portfolio website deployed on Fly.io. And that took us quite a bit of time to put together. So I'm really happy that we get to reuse this in this kind of shortened format. For people who might not have used Fly.io before, they very kindly provided me with a few vouchers that they've been distributing in the conference. If you don't have one of these already, it's their stickers, and the voucher code is behind. If you feel like trying it out, I would highly recommend giving it a go. It's $50 credit. That's very generous. So I'll just leave them here on the table, and if you want to grab one, do so at any time. If you're wanting to try out the Fly.io experience right this very day, you'll need to sign up with a credit card, verify your account, and so on. It takes about 5 minutes, up to you if you want to do this now or leave it for next time. But I'll leave those stickers here. And yeah, thanks very much, Fly.io, for working with us on making sure that Wagtail works great on their platform. Right here. Okay, so back to Wagtail. We are going to go through a little exercise of setting up our site as if we had nothing. So set up from scratch. This will be quite different from what you'd get if you added Wagtail on an existing Django project. And I'll point out along the way in which ways exactly it's different. So again, just for people who have just arrived, this will all be either on your computer at your own pace, or you can follow along on my screen share. The same instructions either way. They're written so that you can do them on your own. And they are at wagtail.org/Django-blogging. Wagtail.org/Django-blogging. I'll leave it there and move on. So we're going to head right into the command line, and I'll try my best to make this all visible while having the two documentation and the code side by side. And for now, we're going to use our Wagtail start command to get us started initializing the project. So here, I've done one thing compared to what tutorial says. I created this blog folder, which is where my projects will live. So this would be where you would do a git init, for example. That's my main project folder. Just one more check for people in the back. If the text size is okay, that you can read it well enough. Great, thank you. So yeah, git init, good way to start the project. And the next thing I'll do is create a virtual environment. Again, nothing special here. The steps, I'm going to follow them on my Mac. So it's going to be Mac commands. Tutorial has instructions for Windows, Linux, as well as some variations, WSL. And the main docs have even more information. But for today, we'll go at a bit of a faster pace. So nothing special there, just getting started. And I'll do the first thing, which makes us add into the Wagtail universe, which is pip install Wagtail. And we'll notice right away, compared to some of the other Django projects you might have seen in the past, there's quite a few dependencies. And again, that's this idea that we definitely want to have quite a few batteries included out of the box. One of those big batteries being image management. So that means multiple formats for images, that means resizing images, and lots of other operations. So that's one example of something that essentially means we have lots of dependencies. It's about 30 in total. So now that I have Wagtail installed, I'll just double check that I do. I'll be able to use my Wagtail start command to create my new website. So no, that's not a good sign. Okay. I'm not sure exactly what is going on here, but we'll just do it the hard way and move on. Okay, so that's just like Django start project management command, nothing too special here. Just thought we would add a few niceties along the way to make it work better. So one of these being our default templates that we have with Wagtail is a bit more opinionated. It comes with a built-in Docker file as an example. And the command itself has a few other niceties for developer experience. But there we have it. Now I have my new project initialized. I'll just show a quick directory structure, and there's lots of things because we have, because I forgot to, I'm showing you my visual environment, aren't I? I'll show you over here. So we have 3 apps by default. The home app is where we get started first. My site is where we hold our project settings and kind of site global configuration. And the search app, we won't spend too much time on today. So search is one of those features that Wagtail comes with built in. Okay, so I've done my Wagtail start. And now I'll get going creating my project. So first thing I'll do is follow through the instructions. Wagtail start my site, create the database. Nothing too special here. Again, this is just a Django command you'd expect on any project. Create super user would be the exact same story. Starting the server is all the same. It's just as if you were managing any Django projects. There is one command as an example of something that differs. Since search is a built-in feature, we have a command that says, please reindex my database content for search now. So we do have a few like these. If you ever want to hack the Wagtail world, all of our demo sites use change me as a password since forever. I do not know who started this, but yeah, the irony isn't lost on all of us. Okay, and now we can get our server started and see what Wagtail without any customization looks like from our start template. So just like with Django, we have a lovely holding page that tells you that your site successfully initialized and gives you some guidance on what to go from here. And the one thing we want to do, obviously, is very, very cool with Wagtail is having this admin interface. So we'll switch right over to that. Quick note for people who follow on their own computers, Wagtail supports a dark theme for the admin interface, just like Django. So it could be that you see all of this in a dark theme. If you want to switch, it's under your account settings. Okay, there we have it. So right now there's not much in our site, just one page, 0 images, 0 documents. So again, those are some of the batteries that come built in. We do with Wagtail allow you to turn some of these off should you prefer, but this base tutorial essentially has what we'd recommend people get going with. Quick note of how it differs from Django in other ways. We have a full-fledged editor guide, which I'm really proud of because again, that's one of those projects we were able to do via the Outreachy internships program. So again, it's something where we had someone work with us for 3 months to create this site, just create the project, and then we had someone else helping with the content. And yeah, we're very happy to, I guess, involve the community in that way and increase the diversity of our open source projects as well with those new contributors. So shout out to Hitansh, who worked on the site, and to Damilola, who worked on the content. Okay, back to the admin. So on here, something that looks quite similar to the Django admin in some ways. Main navigation for Wagtail is in this sidebar, and right away we'll switch to the pages area in the page explorer menu, where currently we just have the one home page. So Wagtail as a CMS is heavily based on pages as a hierarchy of tree structure with roots and nodes. So here the home, that will be the root of the site. Underneath it, we'll have different sections. and further we'll have the pages of the site. So it will be quite clear when we start creating our blog posts. For now, what's the most important to know is compared to other CMSs like WordPress or Drupal, Wagtail does have this quite strong page tree structure, like files and folders. Does anyone have questions at this time before I move on? Who here has heard of Wagtail before? Just so I, oh my gosh, great. Okay, great. And who here has tried it before? Quite a few as well. Okay. So those who have tried before, I hope you do have like good questions based on your experience so far. Be very keen to get some feedback or just hear what's not made sense so far, if there's anything specific. Yes.
Yeah, I noticed the URL variety in terms of the default admin. Do we still have access
Can you, sorry, talk louder?
Do we still have access to Django's default admin interface?
Yes. So for people on the stream, question is whether we still have access to the Django admin, and yes, definitely. We try really hard to make Wagtail compatible with any arbitrary Django app, the admin being one of them. So there's nothing special about that. It just means that when you configure your routing for the different apps, you'll have them in different paths.
Okay, follow-up question.
Sure.
Do we integrate this into an existing Django application? I just want to use Wagtail to manage it for an existing application.
Yeah, of course, I can show you a bit of that. So I skimmed quite quickly over the different apps we have here. I think the best way to answer that question would be to look at the My Site app that contains our project settings and the URLs. So this is where we can see some of the Wagtail magic. I can see in my URL patterns here that the Wagtail admin is at /admin, Django admin is up here. And then we have some other Wagtail specific URLs here. So essentially it will mean going to your Django projects, deciding which features of Wagtail you want to add and where you want to place them. So the most common thing that people do when they want to add Wagtail to an existing site is we have this catch-all pattern here that's going to be serving all of the pages of the site. So if you added this to an existing Django project, you probably put this at a specific path of the site rather than have it catch everything. So that's a common way to integrate. And then it's just going to be a matter of deciding which apps from Wagtail you want to add to your project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but we started the project with Wagtail.
Yeah.
One existing project, how would that work?
Okay, yeah. Same as you would install any Django package, essentially. You look at their docs, the documents, here are the changes you need to make, here are the apps to install, the configuration to add is the exact same. Okay. We're going to look now at a specific Wagtail model, which is obviously quite an important part of the Wagtail developer experience. So here we're going to customize the homepage model, and I'm going to copy paste my code example just for the sake of speed. For people who are following on your own computer, almost all of the code snippets on here are copy paste safe. The only one that will not be is the blog page when you get to that. So yeah, right before, sorry, I should show this first. We had a blank slate, so to speak, for our homepage. We declared this new model called homepage that inherits Wagtail's page model. So Wagtail's page model is where quite a bit of the magic comes from. That's how Wagtail understands where the pages are in the tree. That's how our search index commands know what models to work with. And that's how the drafts features in the CMS work, and quite a bit of other CMS-specific features. I do want to flag, thinking of integrating this with an existing Django project, you can use existing Django models with the Wagtail admin. You can use features like the live preview, saving drafts, having a history of your changes with arbitrary Django models. I will not show that today just for the sake of time, but it's definitely something we've tried hard over the last few years, is bringing back those page-focused features to arbitrary Django models. So yeah, back to the homepage. Compared to before, we've added the one field, just like you would with any model. It's a rich text field that comes straight from Wagtail. And here with this content panels definition, we say to Wagtail, okay, here are the fields I want to display in the form in the admin. So We'll take a look at what that looks like in the admin by editing our homepage. And of course, just like any Django model, new fields, migration needed. So again, like my main point here really is that there isn't too much that's different about it. And even though it can feel like a different project in some ways, Wagtail is definitely a CMS that's meant to work with Django, not like in opposition to it. So yeah, make migrations, new fields, migrate. There we go. Right on. Okay, so here we are in the page editor in the CMS. This is where people who use the CMS day-to-day to manage websites would spend quite a bit of time. This is a very simple page type, but you could imagine it being quite a long form. So we follow a very similar philosophy to Django, where when you want to edit different parts of your project, you'll have those quite lengthy forms that will look very different from the actual live sites. So some CMSs, they try to bridge that gap by having content management people edit the live page with the design and so on. In Wagtail, we try hard to have quite a strong separation of concerns between how developers decide like the data model for the sites and what's editable in the CMS. So lots of freedom in the CMS, in the code. In the CMS, it's quite constrained, so you can have some trust in exactly how the data is going to be stored. But we do have one way to bridge that gap, which is our live preview feature, which you can see over to the right here. So right now, we still have our placeholder page on here. So let's fix that next. I'll just add a bit of content, publish, and then we'll create our templates for our homepage. All right. So this is Django templates, nothing too special here. We do support Jinja as well, and very happy to support both. Personally, I prefer Jinja, but definitely that's not the most common. And yeah, it works very well with either. We spend a lot of time making sure that there is feature parity between the two languages. Okay, so what do we have here? An extends at the very top. I'll leave this here for now. It's nothing too special. We load Wagtail specific tags, and what those tags allow us to do is this rich text filter right here. So this is something that Wagtail handles for you under the hood, exactly how rich text is stored. We try really hard not to allow people to store arbitrary HTML in their rich text fields. There's very good reasons to not allow that. Security, there can be quite a few issues there. Accessibility as well, we want to be quite clear on exactly how the headings, for example, of the page are structured. So Wagtail's rich text format is actually something that's quite optimized for this storage use case. And it's meant to be editor agnostic as well. So although here I've been showing you our built-in editor, you could also customize it, have another one in place, and store the data in the exact same format and have the same guarantees of accessibility, security, and so on. And yeah, this is very live, very live. So it's a quite cool feature that people who use the CMS like quite a bit. Personally, one of my favorite features in there is, sorry, this is way too much. Great. Is our built-in accessibility checks. So again, as I mentioned, that's quite an important thing for us, making sure that sites built with the CMS are accessible. And right away here, it's going to detect if there's any issues with the content and flag them for the users. So obviously, as developers, it's quite a big task for us to make sure that our code is accessible. It's also a matter of the content produced with the site. Yes, you have a question?
Yes, when I tried it out, I was a bit confused as well, and now again.
Yeah.
The title, you have their home, and it says the page title, I should like to be seen by the public. This confused me a bit what this is showing.
Yes, this is.
Email title, or?
Yes, so this is because you'll have arrived on here with the page existing before. I'll show you on the blog index page what that looks like for a brand new page. I mean, it'll make quite a bit more sense. And if it doesn't, do let me know. Okay, yes, so blogging. We have our homepage, we have the model, we have the templates, and we had a quick look at rich text. And now it's time to start a new app for our blog.
Question.
Yes.
Do you serve content with JSON, like on the REST?
Yeah.
Endpoint?
Yeah. So Wagtail has a built-in REST API that's based on Django REST framework. So it has a few endpoints for pages and images and so on that we think is a good baseline. And if you want to customize, you can use any other Django API framework to add with our pages models. No problem there. Or we also have an external GraphQL package that separates, but that does exist as well. So there are some of the features that don't work as well, but they tend to be features that are quite advanced and are necessarily needed on most sites. So what I've shown you so far, the live preview, the checks, the interface, that would all look the same for what we've seen so far. So yes, creating a new app, just like you would on any Django project, and then we'll create our new model for our blog index page. So again, in Wagtail, we try hard to make sure that it's developers who own the structure of the site and how the different sections work. So for each new section where you want customized functionality, you'll create a new page type, which is just a Django model that inherits from the page base class. And here as well, I'll just have it with a rich text field for the sake of simplicity. We'll do the migrations and look at what it looks like to create new pages from scratch. All right, so this can be a bit confusing, and we'll show exactly what it looks like with a brand new page. So here I'm inside my home section of the site, which is the root of the site. Now create a whole new section with the blog index page type. And here that might be quite a bit clearer now that we've seen this. Since it's a new page type, the field appears much more like a field. So this is the page title that site users would get in the title tag in HTML, for example, as well as the title used in the CMS admin. So title is one of those special fields that we chose to have predefined as part of our page base class. So you could add other fields if you wanted more nuance on the title, but we do think it's one thing that people like to have as a baseline. So quickly, while we're here, worth noting the Promote tab on here. We have a slug for our page. So here that was defaulting to blog because it uses the page title. But I could also, if I wanted, use a more custom slug. And I have a few other fields built in there that can be really helpful in some circumstances. Yeah, sure.
There's another title.
Yes. So Wagtail, as a CMS, it's primarily about content-heavy websites. So there'll be a few of those fields that are optimized for that use case. And the ones you'll have seen on that Promote tab, they're specifically for search engine metadata. So you can set a different title for search engine metadata that you would for what's seen on the pages of your site. But it's a common requirement, again, hence why we've added that as a default. There's not really that many of the fields that are included built in. You will kind of be expected as a developer to decide what you think is worthwhile for your project, aside from those like 3 to 5 default fields. Okay, so now we have a new blog page, and the next thing we'll do, a blog index page, and another thing we'll do is create the actual singular blog pages. So the template here, there's nothing too special about it yet, and I'll show you more about it once we get to the actual blog posts. So I'll just need to make sure to put that template in the right folder. Wagtail has a mechanism where it looks for templates in a specific structure by convention based on the model name, but you could decide to place your templates anywhere should you want to depart from that convention. I'll just make sure quickly that it still renders. Oh, I need to restart my server, of course. Okay, so we need blog posts now. So again, that's the one bit of code that will not be as copy-paste friendly, and you need to only add the relevant bits. So here, this is a very natural transition through someone building up their site. Is we started this app for a whole site section, in this case, blog. And over time, we add different models for the different page types within that section, or different models even without, not necessarily just for pages, but also for different entities within the sites that we want to manage within that one section. Okay, so one last time, make migrations. And we should have a blog page available in the site. So one thing I haven't shown yet is this little bird in the bottom right. That's what we call the Wagtail user bar. So you can kind of think of this as a like Django debug toolbar built into the CMS. It's primarily meant for CMS users, not developers, so there are some developer features in there too, and allows you to access the admin straight from the live page of the site, which really helps a lot for people who don't know the CMS too well. So from here, I can do add child page, and it's going to allow me to create this new blog page. So in the interest of time, I'll write a very simple blog post. I'm going to publish it today. Not much of an intro, and hit publish right away. Okay, and I'll do one more. Second post, date's going to be day as well. Second intro, body. Okay. And we'll go to our blog view and see that we need to create the template just like last time. So we'll do that now, and I'll talk a bit more about aspects of this that are specific to Wagtail. Okay. All right. Nothing too special here, but there's lots of themes we can use. We can make this much better at a future workshop. For today, this is enough. What I do want to show here is the URL structure, which mimics the structure of the pages in the CMS. So we have our root of the site / then blog. That's our blog index page. Then we have the posts with their slugs. So you can see how Wagtail has managed that for you just from this one pattern in the URL patterns. It knows where each of the pages are and their structure in a tree and creates those paths. And it's not just that, it also allows you to programmatically interact with this page tree and generate listings just like this one. So we'll spend a moment looking at the code of that blog index page. And so yes, specifically this get children method is one of the APIs we provide to make it easy to create those types of listings. So rather than having to pick the items like you would in WordPress as an example, you can programmatically say, okay, fetch this, fetch that, based on the relationship in the tree. And what's interesting here, I'm sure that people will have noticed already, is we didn't write any views. That's because Wagtail has models and views in the one class. I'll show you a practical example of that next. With a get context method, which will add to our blog index page model. So what is going on here? It's a query set, like you have seen many before. Get children is this method provided by Wagtail, which we had seen in the templates. And the reason why we might want to do fetching of the page data, the sub-page data with Python here, is so we can be a bit more specific about exactly which blog posts we want to show in this listing. So here we're actually deciding, okay, rather than all of the child pages, I actually only want to display the ones that are live. So not draft pages, because draft content, we not necessarily want it live on the sites. And I want to order them in a specific way. So here, some of this is Wagtail specific, but query set syntax you'll have seen in Django many times before, I'm sure. And yes, by virtue of Wagtail using page type models with some view functionality, you don't have to create a whole separate apparatus to do this. It's right within the same area. So it does make for quite fat model files. That's a trade-off that you'd mitigate by having separate files for different models. So here, yeah, again, just adding a specific filtering of the blog pages to the request context, and then in our index page template, we can access our list of blog posts from that and open this in a separate tab just so we can see the difference. Here they are both published, so they are still both shown on the page, but the order now matches the publication date compared to before it matched the creation order. And if I was to unpublish one of these, it would disappear from the listing. Does anyone have questions before I move on? Yes?
Can you make multiple languages out of the box? Or?
Yes. So great question. That's definitely something that I wish we did better at, because again, accessibility, I think it's one of fundamental aspects is multilingual support. So we have some built-in multilingual support, which allows you to declare which pages are of which language and keep track of pages that are of the same type across multiple languages. What we don't have out of the box is the translation interface and some of the translation workflow niceties around handing over content to translators, having automation built in, stuff like that. Currently, that's in a separate package. So it does exist, but separate package.
Are there any sliders available out of the box?
Any what? Sorry?
Sliders. Sliders.
I don't even know what a slider is. What do you mean?
Just you add images and
Oh, okay. Like a carousel, like image side by side. Okay. I'm sure that someone might have something like this as a package. There's definitely lots of examples of how you'd create that in the CMS, as far as your Django models for that. The actual interface of the site in Wagtail, we tend to leave it up to people who build the sites. We've not invested too much into building ready-to-use website themes. So this specifically, I think there is a package called Wagtail CRX that has this built in with a Bootstrap theme. But otherwise, you would be expected to build that with your own front-end library. Okay, deployment. It's going to be taking a bit of time. And again, this does rely on having a Fly.io account, which I've set up ahead of time. So for people who follow on their own computer, it's your moment to decide, do you want to commit trying out Fly.io right now or just follow along? And we have quite a few, have 15 minutes left. Hopefully that will be enough. Live deployments is always a challenge, so please do be patient with me. We'll see where we get on and how far we go. So who has used Fly.io before here? Okay, great. Well, then you'll have something very interesting to look at then. At my employer Torchbox, we manage about 50 to 100 Wagtail websites currently, and all of these live on Heroku. And they've lived in Heroku all the way since the company starting, I believe, or at least us starting with Wagtail. We're very happy with the Heroku. The one issue with Heroku is it's not changed too much over the years, and we do start to notice a few things that are missing. So one of these with Heroku that's missing is transparency on the energy use of their servers, which is a big deal for us. We want our energy use and our digital carbon emissions to be as low as possible. Heroku doesn't share much data. Heroku doesn't give us much options to set sites up and down based on demand. Fly.io they have an architecture that's based on the micro VM pattern, where the individual machines are much easier for them to spin up and down. That's why it's been so interesting for us. And it happens to just be quite a good, like, convenient developer experience. So yeah, I do think it's a good pick. I'm not paid by them to say this, but we have spent quite a bit of time comparing different options and deciding to have this one built into our official tutorial, which does mean we believe it works well enough, at least for tutorial. Production, it's quite a recent company, but yeah, we'll give it a go and see how far we go through the process. So fly launch, first command that we're just gonna inspect the content of our site and try to infer from us some good defaults. So here it's already noticed that there is a clash in naming. Someone's already picked blog. So we'll just have to pick something else, I suppose. So would you like to continue in the web UI? The answer is yes. It's going to take me to this interface where I can customize some of those settings. So we'll go for blog Vigo. Madrid, that sounds fine to me. We don't need 1 GB of memory. Let's do 512. So we want a database. And we'll do blog Vigo DB. It's not for production. So this here, object storage, that's very new. So that's really quite a common issue when people get up to speed with Wagtail. They might not have had to store images for their Django project in the past. Obviously, for a site that contains content, it could be quite important to have visual elements. So pretty much every Wagtail site out there has to have files or object storage of one way. We use Django storages, just like lots of people would with vanilla Django. And yes, this specific thing here, Tigris object storage, that's only been out from Fly.io in a partnership with Tigris as of a few months. So this is the second time ever that I try it. But it's worked great the first time, so it can only be right. Let's just get them to generate one for us.
Is there a S3 available?
I do not know exactly how they like the infrastructure, but it is S3 compatible. What S3 compatible means, I'm sure there's lots of different nuances to that. So it could be only the basic operations. Personally, like one of the other reasons that I do recommend Fly.io is that they provide a generous enough free tier to get started with the site and see how it works. And Tigris, they provide 5 GB. Otherwise, if you're just looking to get started, I would recommend Backblaze, that also has a generous free tier. All right, so blog Vigo, we're getting going. Again, it's detecting what's in the folder that we're using currently to decide what to do with the site setup. And here it's saying, okay, this Docker ignore file, can I take over? We're going to say yes and yes. And I should zoom in a bit. This is a bit too tiny. So it's going further through the creation project. It's deciding on its own, based on the project being Django, which settings to set as environment variables for the production server. And it's attached to a Postgres machine. So thank you, Fly.io, for that. And just going further through the setup process. Does anyone have questions at this point? Okay. So it's completed. I now have quite a few environment variables that I need to reuse here in my production setup. It will automatically edit them again to the live server, so I don't have to add those again. It has also created for me a fly.toml file with the configuration for the live app. So again, all of this is auto-generated based on it detecting exactly how the site is set up. There's one thing we need to change, and I do not know why it's not there as a default, which is collect static in the Docker file. I'll do that now. I'll also make sure not to commit. Do I even have a git ignore? Not yet. Oh, sorry, just to not to send my production settings in the Docker context. And I'll make sure that all the dependencies I need for production are in my requirements.txt, so that it doesn't know for you what you want to use in production. Obviously, it's not that kind of service. It's for you to own. And the set we have here is, I think, a reasonable baseline for Wagtail websites. Again, with Postgres being the database and us using an S3 compatible storage for our images, document files, media, and so on. And yes, the production settings, so in the interest of time, I will not read through them all. We've arrived on them after quite a bit of research on what's a good baseline between secure defaults and a tutorial. So these are, I think, a safe bet for a personal website. So on here, again, all those environment variable names, they match the ones that fly.io has created for us. And yeah, just to make my settings management a bit easier, I'll create a new .env file, so I have a record of what exactly I'm going to add to my fly.io settings. And all you need to do here is replace your app name with the name of the app in fly.io, which in this case is blog.vigo. I'm going to import the secrets in the cloud. And finally, let's see if the deployment works first try or not. Okay, this is going to take a bit of time, so I do hope we have more questions. Where are you all at? Are people trying this out right now on their computer? Yeah, I know. It's just like setting up credit cards and email verifications. It's not worth it. Any questions about the Wagtail development process or deployment so far? A bit louder, please.
Do you have like vectors for moderation of a page? So like not just one layer, but two layers, so someone submits the page and
yeah,
manage a computer.
Yeah, I should be able to demo that while we are waiting for the build. I might just go to our wagtail.org website and show that there. So quite a bit more content on here. It's an older version of Wagtail, not the latest, but otherwise works very similarly. I'll expand my sidebar and moderation. So we have this feature called workflow, where across different areas of the site, you can say how much review you're needing. And you can also say who needs to follow those review processes. So Django has quite a bit in terms of management of authentication and permissions. We reuse that where it makes sense. And in addition, we have our groups feature, which allows CMS users to create groups of users, assign them based on their needs, and then map them with specific workflows. And then once you go in the page editing interface, if a workflow is set up, you'll have the option to submit to said workflow for review. And then there'll be a review step for someone else to add comments, approve or reject, and so on. So here, since I'm an admin user, I have all the options, but you could decide that someone only is allowed to publish through that. Let's check in on our progress with this quickly. Oh, okay, that was quite fast. Just a few more checks. Do you have a question?
Yeah, related to the previous question, I know that there's also a history of the page in the admin.
Yep.
But I couldn't find it going back that version as well. Is it?
No, definitely. Yeah, you can compare any past revision and revert to any past revision as well. Okay, the DNS check at the end is taking a while. So I'll just see if how this is looking on this side. And whether I can proceed with this still running. Oh, great. Okay, so it says our app has been deployed. Thank you, fly.io, server error, great. Now we get to resolve that together. So we can look at the logs. and programming error, relation, blah, blah, doesn't exist. Makes sense, we don't know migrations, database not initialized yet. So apply it to Sage Console. Python, manage py, migrate. And we'll have to create a super user, and hopefully that should be it. So if you feel like giving a more of a spin to Wagtail after this, we have a fully fledged demo website, which we call the bakery demo. Spent lots of time refining it over the years. And you already know the password to the admin account on that demo website. All right, so now we're in our fly.io instance of the CMS. And again, we could create the page content again. I'll keep it very short. Go to the home page, make sure that our live preview still works. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, yes, I forgot one thing. Yes, the one bit of developer-focused configuration you need to do in a new instance of the CMS is the site setting, because a site as a multilingual, we also support multi-site, where you can manage multiple websites within the one CMS instance. So this we do have to do, and what have I done? Did I? This is looking fine to me. Did I forget to? No, I think I did exactly that when I tried this last time and it worked. Okay, no, it was just taking a while, so it does work. Yeah, obviously it's sub with HTTPS, but behind the scenes, that's in front of the server. I should have. Okay, well, the live preview for some reason isn't working. So I want to demonstrate one last thing, which is the image management, which I really was hoping to have more time for, and I couldn't. So here I'm inside the research editor, and we've made it possible to add images without leaving the keyboard. You might have seen Tom Carrick's talk yesterday. Tried hard to make that work well, so I can add an image inside the research editor. And my colleague Sage was really hoping to make his way to DjangoCon and couldn't get it here on time in the end, so I'll just add him in my page content instead. And yeah, thanks to, again, fly.io having this Tigris integration now built in, it's very little faff to get a site up and running with images set up. All right, wrapping up very quickly because we're right at time. I want to give you a few links to check out should you want to spend more time with Wagtail. So again, I mentioned earlier, this tutorial is a very, very abridged version of our official tutorial, which does take you through all of the steps needed of creating a portfolio site with Wagtail, and takes about 3 to 5 hours. This very first getting started section, that's about an hour, shows you more of the concepts, doesn't show deployment. And then this tutorial section builds upon the getting started guide and takes you through even more of the features that are specific to Wagtail, ending with the deployments we've just been through. And yeah, if you want to check out other resources, one of our core team members, Caleb, does a great video tutorial series that's quite cheap and self-paced. My employer, Torchbox, and me as well, we do in-person developer training with an instructor over a few hours. And finally, I'll leave you with one last thing, which is our next Wagtail event. Very soon, 7 days only from now in Arnhem, we have a Wagtail Space Conference where we have Wagtail sprints and talks. We also have it in the US for people who might be able to come overseas, again, very, very soon. And that's me. Hope you had a good time. If anyone has questions, I'll be hanging out right after the talk outside.